All right, the second color changer card we're going to make is this one here. So once again, we've got the thing that comes up and reveals the colored image, but in this case, it comes right out so that if you wanted to display your card and not have the tab in there, you can do that. Now, this one is actually much easier to create than the other one. That's why I did the other one first, because it's a little bit more complicated. But I think the fun thing about the other one is you never figure out exactly how the magic happens, whereas the one where it pulls out completely, I think it's a little bit more self-explanatory, or a little bit easier to see how the magic happens. But either way, the first step is to stamp and color our image. So I've got my piece of watercolor paper again, and I've got my stamp here, and I've also got my piece of acetate. So we're going to do the exact same thing as before. I'm going to position my stamp. Just put a couple little magnets on there just to make sure that it stays in place. And I'm using black stays on again because I'm going to watercolor again. I'm leaving the coloring method for each one of the cards the same, just because I know it does take a little bit longer to assemble the cards, and I didn't want the class to be hours long by teaching different coloring methods. But you can color your image however you want. It's not going to affect the functionality of your card. I'm going to stamp it again just to get a nice, good, clean image there. So once again, I'm going to put my acetate piece on top of it. So my watercolor paper is 4.5 by 4.5, and my acetate piece is 4.25 by 4.25, and that's just because of the sizes of paper that I was using. The watercolor pad I had was 9 inches wide, so it's very easy to make it 4.5 inches wide, and the acetate sheet was 8.5 inches wide. So rather than having a 4-inch strip left, I just made it a little bit smaller because it doesn't actually need to be full size for this card. So once again, before we take anything off, I'm just going to take that one magnet and just test the image. So we've got a nice clean image there. So our acetate piece can be put to the side to completely dry, and we will start watercoloring our little elfin ornament image. So once again, I kept it very similar to the back of the packaging, just for simplicity's sake. And I have my distress reinkers again. Even to do watercoloring, you can use different things. There's watercolor crayons that you can use. However you choose. I like to use the distress reinkers simply because it's a product that I already have to re-ink my ink pads, and I always love it when products do more than one job. So just like the first one, I'm going to start with adding the shadow to the white. And this is the sample. Sorry, I got a little frog in my throat. This is the sample where I did it last, and I had a little bit of bleeding, and it actually is just on this hat, but some of the hair bled and some of the green from underneath the hat bled. So I would recommend doing it first so that it can dry a little bit before you work on some of the other areas of the card. And same as the first one, my method of watercoloring is is the same each time. I'm putting my color where I want it to be the darkest, and then I am wiping my brush off and going to the next color and lightening it. So now I'm going to do the red, and the red that I use is Festive Berries. When I am starting an image, I'd like to do this, so I keep track of exactly what colors that I am using, just at the off chance that by the time I go and create my card or whatnot, I'm forgetting. So I always like to keep a little scrap there and a little kind of a little cheat sheet. So those scraps, I don't cut them just for that. Typically when you're using watercolor paper, like I said before, the one that I use is 9 inches wide. So my paper is cut to 4.5 inches, but if I'm doing a card, most of the time my image piece is, 3 3/4 inches or 4 inches or whatever. So I have a little bit that gets cut off. Those pieces are saved for that particular reason. Sometimes even while you're doing it, you're trying to figure out what color you want for a particular part and which would look best. And that's the perfect way to do it, because you're not actually coloring it onto your completed project or the project you're working on, but it's a good way to test colors and see if you like how they are going to look on your final project. Just another way of using some of your scraps up. There we go. And much easier to do that and then possibly realize that it's the wrong color or that that's not what you were thinking, than to have to restart watercoloring your image for that same reason. All right, so my red is done there. I'm just going to clean my brush off completely. So this water brush here has water right in the handle, and it's my favorite water brush, and the reason is when I want to go do another color, I just squeeze some water, rub my brush on my paper towel, and I have a clean brush and I can continue going to the next color. I am very much a klutz, so having an open container of water to wash my brushes in is kind of like an accident waiting to happen. So for me, this is a perfect way to not have an open water or open bottle of water sitting on my desk. So the color that I'm using for the skin here is Tattered Rose. It's just kind of a peachy pinky color. Obviously you can make your skin tone whatever you like, and that suits what you're going for. I just realized I don't have my little berries here colored. And I want to color the lips red too, but I also want to wait for this paint, the skin color, the face color, to dry before doing that, because if I put that on there right now, it is going to just bleed right into the face. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of green right here. So the green that I'm using is called Peeled Paint. And I chose it simply because it matched perfectly with the cardstock that I had for the card base. But it is one of my favorite greens for using for like a nice Christmas green. To me, it's one of the ones that looks kind of the most natural to greenery. All right, when I colored it out, I lost a lot of that dark part. So just if you've already you know, filled in the rest of a space and you kind of figure you're losing some of the dark part, all you need to do is poke your brush into some of that dark area and then dot it on. And because that area is wet, because you already spread your paint out, it will automatically start spreading out from there. All right, now little leggings. Once again, doing the dark part first. So it would be dark right under that fur. And there we go. So like here, I lost some of the dark part there. So just taking some of that dark part or dark color on your brush and dotting it on there, it just immediately starts blending itself in there. Touch more right here. There we go.